So I'm just gonna wait a few minutes just so everyone can join in, and we'll start immediately. Hello, can you hear me well? What's good, Hassan Al-Rawi? How are you, man? How you all been? Okay, I'm just gonna wait again 2 more minutes, 2-3 minutes till everyone can join. If you guys know your friends want to join the session, let them join as soon as possible, please. Okay. Hi Ali, how are you? I'm good also, alhamdulillah. Okay, thank you Zainab, tell your friends. Okay guys, 2 more minutes, okay? 8:07 we'll start. If we have time, I'll do the quiz, but mostly I'm gonna do a bit of the book just to explain the concept, briefly, and then we can do the quiz directly after. I don't mind. But the session will be around 1 hour long, so I'll try to split it into equal parts. So 30 minutes, I'll try to explain the main concepts in the book, and the next 30 minutes, we're gonna do the quiz. Okay? If that sounds good with everyone, let me know in the chat. You're most welcome. No worries. Okay, I'm gonna start right now. Whoever wants to join after is more than welcome to join. So first, I'm just gonna talk briefly about the excretory system. So, as you guys know, we have many metabolic reactions that happen inside our body, okay? And these metabolic reactions, they're going to secrete waste products, as we see here, okay? We don't want these waste products to accumulate in our body because they can become toxic, okay? So of course we have to remove those toxic materials from our body, and also we have to remove excess material outside our body, okay? Thank you so much for your nice comment, Amanda. I've also seen your content and it's really good. Keep it up and all the best. Okay, so we also have the first definition that you guys have to know. So the removal of toxic materials, metabolic waste products, and substances present in excess from the body is called excretion. Okay, so you guys have to know the definition of excretion. What is excretion? Excretion is the removal of toxic materials, metabolic waste products, and substances present in excess from the body. Okay, now of course, like our body, each organ has a specific function. We've talked about the lungs before and the respiratory system. We've talked about the heart and the circulatory system. Okay, we've also talked about different organs such as the spleen and the immune system. Okay, so you guys can notice that each part of our body has a specific function. Now, what parts of our body are responsible for excretion? Okay, so we have kidneys. Okay, as you guys know, we have 2 kidneys found on the side of our body. Okay, we also have ureters, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. Now the ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra all form the urinary system, along with the kidneys too, okay? Now also we have different organs such as the skin, the lungs, and the large intestine, which also function in excretion. So if someone in the chat can tell me, what does the skin excrete? So if anyone can tell me the skin, exactly, sweat. So sweat is a waste product, perfect, that the skin excretes. So we can see that our skin also plays a role in excretion. Now what about the lungs? Okay, so remember, metabolic reactions, for example, I'll give you an example of a metabolic reaction that happens in our body is cellular respiration. What is the waste product of cellular respiration? CO2, okay? So CO2, exactly. So as Aline said and Ali said, CO2 is excreted by the lungs. We don't want carbon dioxide to build up in our blood, because we said we'll have an acidic pH. We spoke about it before in the respiratory system. So our lungs functions as an excretory organ, releasing CO2 from our body. And also the large intestine, which we also spoke about in the digestive system, where undigested food is excreted outside the body. Now let's look at the kidneys now. So the kidneys produce a typically yellowish fluid called urine. What does urine contain? Okay, so the components of urine: excess water, salts, and waste products from body reactions. Now how does it happen? Okay, so as you guys can look at the diagram, you have your kidneys, and then you have your ureter, and you have urinary bladder, and you have the urethra. Okay, so you guys have to know the labeling of the diagram. So as we said, in the kidneys, urine is formed, and we'll look later on how it is formed, and then it will pass through the ureters. Okay, it will be stored in the urinary bladder. Okay, so that's where urine can be temporarily stored, and then is going to be excreted through the urethra. Okay, so you have to know the labeling and just the general function of what they do. Now also we have urea. What is urea? Urea is the major nitrogenous excretory product of the body. This is excreted primarily in urine. Okay, so urine also contains urea, and also in a lesser extent in sweat. Okay, so part of urea is excreted through sweat, but mainly through urine. Now, what part of our body produces urea? We'll get back to that later on, but if anyone knows in the chat, let me know. What do you think, which organ produces urea? Yasmin, you're always welcome to the live sessions. The liver, perfect. So the liver, one of the functions of the liver is to produce urea. It does that by deamination of amino acids. Okay, now urea, as we said, we have to excrete it mainly through urine. Why? Because if it accumulates and reaches harmful levels, it can be toxic. Okay, now let's move on. We'll look at the skin, lungs, and the large intestine. We already spoke about them generally. We said skin produces sweat, okay, and that is a fluid that contains water, salts, and other molecules such as urea. We also said urea, but to a lesser extent. We also spoke about the lungs. They excrete carbon dioxide, which is a waste product of cellular respiration. Okay, we mentioned that. And it can also excrete water vapor, which is another byproduct of cellular respiration. Let me just remind you guys of the formula for cellular respiration. So we have C6H12O6, which is glucose plus 6 oxygen molecules, releases 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O, and of course energy. Okay, now this carbon dioxide, we want to excrete it outside our body, so through the lungs, and also excess water vapor also excreted through the lungs. Okay, let's get back. So we also talked about okay, here they're just telling you during the night what do plants do, because of course we know for plants to be able to perform photosynthesis they need sunlight, and at night we don't have sunlight. So carbon dioxide produced by cells is a waste product and is excreted to the outer environment through the stomata. Okay, Now also we also talked about the large intestine. It's involved in digestion. Remember we said digestion starts with an E, so exit, excretion. Okay, it's involved in ingestion and excretion. So what is the difference between those two? Digestion, we said, is the removal of undigested food material from the body, whereas excretion is the removal of metabolic waste products produced by the cells. Okay, so watch out for this distinction between those two. Remember, digestion, removal of undigested food material. Excretion, so focus, excretion is related to metabolic wastes. Okay, excretion related to metabolic wastes. Okay, now if we remove cellulose, it's gonna be digestion because it's undigested material. Okay, and we said, remember, cellulose cannot be digested by our body because we do not have the right enzymes for it. Okay, while if we're gonna secrete bilirubin, which is the breakdown of hemoglobin, okay, this is a metabolic waste. So what are we going to say? We're going to say this is excretion since it's a metabolic waste. Okay. Okay, now let's look at how urea is produced. Okay, we said the process is deamination. You guys have already mentioned before that urea is produced by the liver, okay, because the liver performs deamination of excess amino acids. So basically just extra information for you guys if you want to know. So deamination, if we want to look at the structure of an amino acid, it has a NH2 group, okay? So the removal of the NH2 group is called deamination, and that's what forms urea, okay? So here they just explain that proteins ingested in food are broken down into amino acids. We said the digestive enzymes before. Let's see, just a quick reminder, since you guys, I think many of you want to take the IGCSE, and also just general information. Who can give me one enzyme in our digestive system that breaks down proteins? Pepsin, exactly. Pepsin is one example of an enzyme that breaks down proteins in our body. Okay, peptidase usually breaks down polypeptides into amino acids, okay? But before peptidase come into function, we have to break down the proteins into polypeptides, and then we break down the polypeptides into amino acids by peptidase, okay? But in some context, they consider it correct too. So all of you guys are right, okay? And here they just talk about how urea is produced, okay? We also have to talk about the other functions of the liver, okay? So I need you guys to know this diagram really well. So we said functions of the liver: producing urea by deaminating excess amino acids. They also store glucose in the form of glycogen. They produce bile, and remember, bile was stored in the gallbladder. It also breaks down worn out red blood cells and stores iron, stores also potassium and vitamins, breaks down harmful substances. It also synthesizes plasma proteins and also makes cholesterol for the cell membranes. Okay, I made a video about the transport and the composition of cell membranes if you guys want to watch it, just to refresh your memory. Okay, and it also regulates the amount of glucose in the blood in response to specific hormones. Okay, so just know the summary of all the functions of the liver. Now let's move on to the organs of the excretory system. So we look at them in more details. Okay, so we spoke about the kidneys. They're located behind the intestine at the back of the abdomen. Of course, we have two. We said one on our left and one on our right. Okay, and we have 3 parts of the kidney. It's course into 3 parts. Let's look at those 3 parts and the function of each part. So we have the cortex. As you guys can see, the cortex is the outermost layer. Okay, it's here. Outermost layer is the cortex. Then you have the medulla. The medulla, it starts with an M. Okay, M, think about medulla, middle. It's the middle part of the kidney. Okay, and then you have your renal pelvis, which is the innermost part of the kidney, which is connected to the ureter. And of course, after the ureter, we said we have the urinary bladder, and then we have the urethra. Now let's look at the function of each one of them. Okay, so we said the cortex is outermost, the medulla lies deeper inside and is darker. Okay, and the renal pelvis is the innermost region. We spoke about the ureters. They carry urine produced by the kidneys, of course, into the urinary bladder, and then we're going to excrete that through the urethra. Okay, now remember we spoke also in the circulatory system about arteries and veins and all of that. So let's just revise them very quickly. Renal arteries branch off the aorta. We said renal arteries start with an A. They transport blood away from the heart. Okay, so we're going to go from the heart to the kidneys, and they supply them with nutrients, while renal veins carry blood towards the heart, so it's going to carry blood is carried away from the kidneys through the renal veins, which joins the inferior vena cava. Okay, so those are just the diagram of the kidney. Also, you guys have to know that. Okay, know the cortex is outermost, medulla middle, and renal pelvis is the innermost. Now, what is the kidney made up of? Okay, the kidney is made up of millions, thousands of nephrons. What are nephrons? Okay, this is very important. Nephrons are the functional units of the kidney. Okay, the nephrons are what do all the filtration, the reabsorption, the formation of urine occurs in the nephrons. Okay, so nephrons are the functional units of the kidney where blood is filtered and urine is produced. Okay, so you have to take into consideration our blood is constantly getting filtered. Okay, so that's why we have thousands of these neurons filtering our blood to remove all the metabolic waste and excreting it out of our body. Now, the structure of a nephron. Okay, so I'm not gonna read what the structure is. I'd rather show it to you guys here in the diagram. Okay, so we spoke already about the kidney. Of course, artery supplies the kidney with blood, while renal vein takes away to the heart. And we said we have nephrons. They are the building blocks, if you want to think about it, of the kidney. What is the nephron composed of? So here you have the glomerulus. Okay, that is where filtration is going to occur. I will look at the definitions also and the functions of them later on. But that's what I want you to know. You have the glomerulus. Okay, the glomerulus is surrounded by a capsule. We call this capsule Bowman's capsule. Okay, you have to know the identification of them. So Bowman's capsule, and inside Bowman's capsule you have the glomerulus. Then you have convoluted tubules. Okay, we're not gonna go into details, but just extra information for whoever is interested. We have two. We have proximal convoluted tubule, and we have over here, we call them distal convoluted tubule. Proximal because it's close to the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, while distal because it's far away. Then we have, after the convoluted tubule, we have the loop of Henle, and as you guys can see, it extends into the medulla. That's why, if we want to look here, okay, this is the cortex. If you look at in the medulla, you can see the loop of Henle. Okay, that's the loop of Henle. I think they put it in the black box. The loop of Henle extends into the medulla. Okay, after the loop of Henle, we have another tubule. We call it the distal convoluted tubule, and then at the end we have collecting duct, and after the collecting duct, we have the ureter, where we're going to urine is formed and is going to be excreted out. So let's look more into detail now. Let's look at urine formation. So what are the steps for urine formation? We have blood filtration and reabsorption of useful molecules. Now look at this analogy I'm going to try to give you. Imagine you have a bag, okay? You want to remove something outside of this bag. So what the kidney does, it removes everything outside the bag, and then it's going to select some stuff to put them back in, and everything else it didn't want, throws it away. Okay, so what does it do? That's the same process in the kidneys. If you guys don't understand this and want me to repeat it, let me know. but I'll repeat it anyways, okay? So imagine I have a bag that has books and everything, okay? There are some books I don't want anymore, while there are some books that I still want. So what I do is I throw all the books outside the bag, and then I'm going to look at all the books and I'm going to select the ones which I want and I put them back in my bag, where everything else I don't want, I just keep it outside the bag. That's the exact same thing that the kidneys do, okay, or the nephrons do. They filter and then they reabsorb. Watch the word, reabsorb. They're not absorbing, they're reabsorbing, because they release everything and they're going to select what substances they want to reabsorb. Before I move on to the next point, did you all guys understand this concept? Okay, perfect. Perfect. Let's move on then. So the first step in urine formation is going to be filtration of the blood. Where did we say this filtration occurs? It occurs in the glomerulus. Okay? Now, remember we said the glomerulus, and around it we have the capsule, which we can call it the Bowman's capsule. Here it's called Bowman's capsule. Okay, so here, glomerulus. So they ask you, what is the function of the glomerulus? That is the site of filtration. Okay, Hassan, what I meant is, if I have a bag that has books, some books I want, some books I don't want. What I do is, I remove all the books outside the bag, so the bag is now empty. That's the filtration process. And then I'm going to select which books I want, and I put them back in my bag. And everything I don't want, I just keep it outside in the bag. And that's what your kidneys do. So they filtrate the blood, and then they're going to select what material they want to reabsorb. Okay? So the first process is filtration, and that happens in the glomerulus. Okay? Now, we have two arterioles. This is very important also, guys. You have the efferent and you have the efferent. One starts with an A, one starts with an E. Efferent enters. Efferent, remember, starts with an E, exit. Okay? That's the way I memorize it. Okay? So efferent exits, starts with an E, efferent enters. Now, of course, we need to have a good amount of pressure for filtration to happen. So we have under high pressure in a process known as ultrafiltration. You have the arteriole entering the glomerulus, it's called the efferent. It has a large diameter, and the one leaving the glomerulus is going to be called the efferent. Okay? And this causes a high resistance to blood flowing away from the glomerulus and creates high blood pressure inside the glomerulus. Okay? Because we want high pressure to happen inside the glomerulus. Okay? Now, why does filtration occur? Filtration occurs because the glomerular capillary walls contain small pores that facilitate blood filtration. So you see those holes, okay? So there are small holes that allows small particles to pass. Of course, we don't want everything to pass through because it will be disastrous then. So only small molecules are able to pass. So for example, if I tell you, do proteins pass? What do you guys think? Will proteins be able to pass through these small holes? Exactly, proteins will not be able to pass. That's why sometimes exactly proteins are large. They're not able to pass. That's why some people, if they do a test and they find the proteins in the urine, they know they directly have a kidney problem, because that should not be happening. Okay? So the glomerulus, it has glomerular capillaries that have small holes or pores that only allow small molecules to pass through. Now that solution, which has water and dissolved substances that are small enough, pass through these pores, and they leave the glomerular capillaries and enter what? The renal capsule. Okay? This renal capsule is basically Bowman's capsule. What do we call this liquid that passed the filtration process? We call it the filtrate. Okay, so if they ask you, what is the liquid that comes that passes after filtration process has occurred, we say it is the filtrate. Okay, and of course, what is found in the filtrate? Look, because they might ask you, are proteins found in the filtrate? Of course, proteins will not be found in the filtrate. Why is that? Because proteins are too large to pass through the pores. Okay, only small molecules can pass, such as mineral salts, glucose, and urea. However, blood cells and most proteins are too large to pass out through the pores in the capillary walls of the glomerulus. Okay? Now, after filtration, we have the filtrate, and this filtrate produced in the urine capsule contains some substances that the body still needs or can use. Okay? So we still need, as we mentioned, that we do the filtration, but there are still some materials we filtered, we still need them. What are those materials that we still need? We need, for example, glucose. That's why if people have glucose in their urine, that means they could be diabetic and there could be a problem in the kidneys. Okay? Because glucose should not be found in the urine. Why? Because our body should reabsorb that glucose. Okay? So in order to avoid losing valuable substances, such as glucose or nutrients in the urine, we have to reabsorb them. And where do we reabsorb them? What part of the nephron? In the tubules. Okay, so we spoke about the we spoke about the tubules, the convoluted tubules, and that is where reabsorption occurs. Okay, so we spoke about filtration, and we also spoke now about reabsorption. Filtration occurs in the glomerulus, while in the tubules we have reabsorption of important nutrients. Okay, and here they just give you an example which I already mentioned, that urine has a minimal glucose concentration, and it's only in diabetic people or people who have problems where they're going to have you're going to have a problem in your kidney if there's glucose found in your urine. Okay, and look, what do we call this process? Selective reabsorption. Why selective? Because we select what we want to absorb. We don't reabsorb everything, because there are some waste we want to excrete, so we selectively reabsorb some components. Okay, now the fluid that remains in the tubules after reabsorption is what is going to be called urine. Okay, and this is usually a dilute solution of salts and urea. Now, what is the function of the collecting duct? The collecting duct carries the produced urine to the renal pelvis, which then collects the urine and sends it to the urinary bladder. So through what? Okay, through the ureters. Okay, did you all understand filtration and reabsorption? Okay, let's look at the diagram. Okay, the diagram is very simple. It's just showing you the process. So we said you have the efferent arteriole, which enters the glomerulus, okay, where filtration is going to occur, and it usually has a larger diameter. Where you have the efferent, which starts with an E. Efferent for exit, it exits the Bowman's capsule. Okay, now in the glomerulus you have filtration. We said it has pores, and only small molecules are able to pass through these pores, which will form later what we know as the filtrate. And then this filtrate will pass through the convoluted tubules, where we're going to have reabsorption of nutrients. Okay, for example, glucose. We want glucose to remain in our blood, so that's where reabsorption happens. After you pass through the convoluted tubules, you're going to have urine. Now urine is formed, and it's going to pass from the collecting duct to the renal pelvis, and then from the renal pelvis we said to the ureter, and then to the urinary bladder, where it will be stored for a bit. Okay, now of course we regulate the amount of urine. So if I'm drinking a lot of water, of course I'm going to use the bathroom more than someone who's not drinking as much water. Okay, because remember, our body not only excretes metabolic waste, but it also excretes substances found in excess. So if my body has an excess level of water, that's not good also. So remember, it's always being moderate. Okay, we can't go to extremes. Every extreme is bad. Okay, so that's why it's going to vary from one person to another. So they give you here such examples. If you drink too much water, you're going to secrete a dilute urine. Okay, while if you're dehydrated, you're going to secrete a concentrated urine. Okay, if anyone has problems with this concept, let me know. But it's straightforward. Okay, and your body also regulates that. Of course, remember, your body always wants to achieve what? Homeostasis. Okay, we always want our body to be internally stable. Okay, we want inside of our body to have a stable environment, and we call that homeostasis. So what our body does, it can release hormones. So in a period of dehydration, our body secretes a hormone called ADH. Okay, and this causes the collecting duct of the nephron to become more permeable to water. What does that mean? That means what does the permeable to water? That means we're going to reabsorb more water, which is going to make our urine have a smaller volume, and it's going to be more concentrated. Okay, how do we excrete excess proteins? Exactly, when it's excess, your kidney does deamination. That's why it's also bad to have a huge intake of proteins. Okay, so every extreme is bad. Both extremes. So having too little protein is bad. Having too much protein is bad also. Okay, because you're going to have, as Tala said, deamination, and you're going to have a buildup of urea, and your body might not be able to excrete this urea really well. Okay, so it's going to build up to high levels, and it's going to be toxic. Okay, but no need to get into the specific details, because there's always going to be different scenarios, and hopefully later on you'll be able to learn all these different scenarios. Okay, so I think this is straightforward. And here they're just talking about how urine is excreted. It's stored in the urinary bladder, and then through the urethra it's excreted outside. And it's just talking about the different muscles that are present that contract and that relax. So here, sphincter muscles is present at the top of the urethra, contract to close the urethra and prevent urination. So when the muscles are contracted, we are preventing urination. However, when these muscles relax, urine is able to flow out through the urethra. Okay? And here they just give you an example how babies' sphincter muscles relax reflexively to change in bladder pressure. Okay, they do not control it. However, when you grow up, you're able to control your bladder. I think we're nearly done with the concepts. Till now, does anyone have any questions? Or we're all good? Before we talk about the diseases of the excretory system and their common treatments. This is also very straightforward. But before I move to it, let me know if anyone has any questions to what we just covered, and if it's all clear. Okay, I think we're all good. So let's move to the last concept. This is a straightforward chapter, kind of, okay? So let's talk about the diseases of the excretory system and how we treat them, okay? So as I mentioned before, you can have infections, some are chronic, or some are long-term, some are acute, okay? You can also have loss of kidney function and sometimes even kidney failure. And you can also see some people who live with one kidney only. So people are able to survive with one kidney. And we see many cases where if someone has both their kidneys not functioning well, someone can donate one of their kidneys. And this is going to be a kidney transplant. We're going to learn about it right now. but this is also an option, okay? While other people maybe are not able to have a kidney transplant, so they undergo kidney dialysis. So we're going to look at the difference between those two, the advantages and the disadvantages of each also. So let's look at kidney dialysis. So urea and other excretory products accumulate in the blood of patients suffering from kidney failure, okay? So what happens? So our kidneys are not working well. So what does kidney dialysis do? It's basically, now we'll look at it, okay? It's going to mimic the function of the kidney. So since our kidney is not working, we're going to do something that's going to mimic the same and function the same way that kidneys normally do, okay? Through this machine called a dialysis unit or a kidney machine. So dialysis is a process by which urea, excess salts and excess water, and other unwanted substances are removed from the blood of a patient with kidney failure using a special machine we said is called dialysis unit or kidney machine. Now what happens? So let's look at it. We have the blood, as if we look at the diagram, okay? Let me zoom in a bit. You have blood leaving, okay? Now blood is removed for cleaning. So it's going to pass through a pump. We measure the pressure of it and everything. And this is going to be the dialysis unit. So once it enters the dialysis unit, what's going to happen once it enters the dialysis unit? Let's look. So the machine consists of long, selectively permeable tube. Why selectively permeable? Remember, because we want some material to pass through, but we don't want all the material. What material do we want to pass through? The toxic materials, such as urea, excess mineral salts. Okay, those are the material that I want them to leave. Okay, here the red color, to leave. Okay, and what I want to enter back is glucose, the nutrients, so it can go back into the patient. Okay, so it's, as you guys can see, it's doing the function of the kidney in a different way though. So look what happens. So this tubing is bathed in a special solution called dialysis fluid, and this has tiny pores. Why tiny? Because we don't want large molecules to pass through. The same thing that we had in the glomerulus, we had small pores that allow small molecules to pass through. Why? Because blood cells and blood proteins are too large to diffuse out. We don't want them to diffuse out. That's why they're small. We have small holes or small pores, but small molecules such as urea and salts can diffuse out. Now with the tubing, what should it be? So it should be selectively permeable. It should have tiny pores. It should also be long and narrow. Why long and narrow? To provide a large surface area for diffusion to occur. And the dialysis solution contains the same concentration of salts and glucose as healthy blood to avoid excessive loss of glucose or salt. So who's going to tell me this point? Okay, what does this point mean? The dialysis solution contains the same concentration of salts and glucose as healthy blood to avoid excessive loss of glucose or salt. You guys have taken it before. I'll give you a small hint. Think about the 3 types of solutions you guys took or learned about when we spoke about osmosis. Yeah, but I mean, what do we call this solution? Okay, so I'll give you options. Is it a hypotonic solution? Is it a hypertonic solution? Or is it an isotonic solution? Like, you can think of it in that way. I'm not saying it's directly like that, but I'm trying to bring different ideas for you guys closer to each other. Exactly. It's going to be an isotonic because we don't want anything flowing out. That's why we're going to have the same concentration. If, for example, I put a hypotonic solution, exactly, isotonic is right, because if I put a hypotonic or a hypertonic, water can leave and water can enter. But if I put an isotonic solution, no net flow. So the net flow flowing in and out is going to be 0. And this is also important, okay? And this solution contains no urea. Why no urea? Because we want to maintain a steep diffusion gradient for urea to move outside the blood. Okay, remember we spoke about the factors that affect diffusion. Having a steep diffusion gradient can increase the rate of diffusion. Okay, so this is for kidney dialysis. Now, of course, here is going to be dialysis must be performed 2 or 3 times per week, and each treatment lasts several hours. Okay, and this is also for the question Ali asked before. Look, Ali, what they say over here. They tell you that okay, before let me answer your question first, because look what they say here. No urea is in the solution. That's why urea will flow outside, high concentration to low concentration. Okay, but for the glucose, we don't want glucose to leave. Okay, don't think about it isotonic, perfectly isotonic. I'm just showing you the relationship you can have. Okay, like I'm trying to bring an idea you learned before to a similar idea, because here, what is the point of it? Here, look what they tell you. They tell you the dialysis solution contains the same concentration of salts and glucose as a healthy blood. Okay, so they have the same concentration of salts and glucose in the dialysis solution and in the blood. So this is similar to what an isotonic solution is, because we're not going to have a loss or a gain. But for urea, look what they tell you. The solution contains no urea, so urea is able to leave. Okay? Now back to this. So we're saying when they have to undergo dialysis treatment, and during their dialysis treatments, look what they say. Avoid consuming too much salt, and protein intake should be limited. Why should protein intake be limited? Because we said if excess protein is going to be metabolized by the liver, and we're going to produce urea, and this can accumulate to toxic levels in the blood. Okay, now let's look at kidney transplant. Okay, before I look at kidney transplant, who can tell me some disadvantages of kidney dialysis from what we just spoke about right now? Exactly, it's expensive in the long run, and it's time consuming. Exactly, so imagine you have to go to the hospital 2 to 3 times every week, and each treatment lasts for several hours. Okay, so it's expensive in the long run, and it's also time consuming. Okay, and one more thing also, it lasts for a long period of time. So some people, for the rest of their lives, they have to undergo dialysis. So imagine some people sometimes go years going every week 2 to 3 times to perform dialysis for long periods of time. So this is also one disadvantage of it. And also you can have a strict diet. What do you mean, can you buy a kidney machine? Like at home you want to have it? I don't think that's possible, because you need a nurse and a doctor to look over you, and maybe you can, but you'd always need someone to monitor if everything's going well. Yeah, Aline is telling us that some people do. You can do it, and they can also hire a nurse to always come and check during the treatments. Okay? But of course, as she said, it's going to be more expensive for you to do that. Now what about kidney transplants? Okay, so this is an alternative. But now this alternative also has disadvantages. And if there's a better alternative, we all might say, why doesn't everyone do that? Well, because having a kidney transplant is not that simple, and it's not that accessible for everyone. There are different factors we have to take into consideration, which we will look at right now. Okay? So receiving a kidney transplant may be an alternative. So he can either receive it from a healthy individual who died, okay, or from a living donor, okay. Exactly, you need the right donor. So not everyone can donate a kidney to each other, because remember we spoke about transfusions and the problems that can happen. So let's look what we have. So we have criteria that must be set for a patient to receive a donated kidney. What are those? There are tests that are done for both the potential donor and the one who's going to be receiving the kidney. Why? To reduce post-surgical complications. Okay? So sometimes they are compatible and sometimes they are not compatible. Once they're compatible, we say we have a potential donor, okay? Exactly, as Rory said, the body can reject this kidney. And now we look at a solution we've come up with to reduce the chance of our body rejecting another kidney. So here they're telling us kidney transplant surgeries have a high success rate. Why do they have a success rate? Because of the advancement in technology and medicine and all of that, okay? So as Drury said, kidney rejection can occur. What is kidney rejection? Kidney rejection occurs when the recipient's immune system recognizes the antigens present on the surface of the cells of the transplanted kidney as foreign and launches an immune response against them, eventually destroying the transplanted kidney. Okay? So if you guys think about it, like we spoke about the different blood groups in the circulatory system, we said some people cannot give blood to other people because of the antigens that are found on them, and our body can launch an attack on those antigens. And here it's the same process. So a kidney rejection occurs when your body recognizes the antigens present on the transplanted kidney, okay, and it launches an immune response against them. Now, as I mentioned before, this complication can be minimized. How can it be minimized? It's going to be minimized by immunosuppressant drugs, okay, and these drugs are taken daily for the rest of the patient's life. So immunosuppressant, from the word immunosuppressant, what does it do? It suppresses to a certain extent, of course not completely, it suppresses to a certain extent our immune system. So our immune system does not attack and reject the kidney that has been transplanted, okay? And these drugs reduce the efficiency of the recipient's immune system to help prevent an attack against, okay. Now, however, a disadvantage is a person is going to be more vulnerable to diseases. As we talked about the immune system before, if we're giving an immunosuppressant drug, so our immune system is not going to function as it usually does, so it's going to be more vulnerable to different infections, okay? And also we can reduce the risk of a rejection by choosing the right donor, and usually the best donor is someone who is related. So example, a brother or a sister, okay? Because relatives usually have similar antigens on the surfaces of their body cells, and this reduces the chance of the immune system attacking the transplanted kidney. Now, some advantages of the kidney transplant, I think you guys have already mentioned them before, which is it spares them the regular visits to the hospital, so it doesn't need that much time, okay? It is costly, however, it's costly only in the short term, because on the long run, it's going to be less expensive, because you don't have to keep on going to the hospital and performing dialysis, okay? However, some disadvantages, as we mentioned, there's not kidneys found everywhere for everyone, because everyone would have done a kidney transplant, but there is a shortage of kidneys, okay? And an example that many patients must wait years for a suitable kidney. So just extra information for you guys who are interested, that in hospitals they have waiting lists for people who are waiting for a kidney to be able to... Oh really, I can draw and highlight. If I press the plus button, where is the... Wait. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm not the best with this. Next to the solve question, middle right. Okay, I don't think it's this one. Oh, okay. I got it. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. I'm sorry for that. Yep, it worked. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I was saying, no, the advantages of having a kidney transplant, we said it will spare regular visits, okay, and it is less expensive on the long run, okay. However, disadvantage of it is going to be that there's a shortage of kidneys, okay. And I was mentioning, just as an example, that in many hospitals, you have a waiting list in order to receive a kidney, okay. So those are some disadvantages of kidney transplant, and there's always the risk of having a kidney rejection, even though with the immunosuppressant drugs. And also sometimes, even if it comes from a relative, there's always going to be a chance of having a kidney rejection. Of course, it's going to be less when it comes from a relative and once we take immunosuppressant drugs. Okay, so that was all for the session. The quiz, I've looked over it. I think we've covered everything that's found in the quiz. So I think the quiz is going to be simple for you guys to solve. But if you have any questions, you can always send it on the group. And for the people who are new and are not in the group, if someone in the chat can just copy the link for them to join, or send them the link to join, it'll be perfect so everyone can benefit from it. And that's it for today. If you guys have any questions on what I explained, let me know so I can just revise it very quickly before we wrap it up. On the quiz, I think it's simple if you guys paid attention right now. Because I'm looking at it right now, and I think we've gone over everything that we have to take, we have to know, okay? So if there's no questions, let me know. Okay, are you able to make when is your periodic? And let me know the material you guys have for your periodic. But hopefully I'll be able to do something for the periodic, like solve past papers. I've already posted the chapters before, like I think they're good videos. So just watch the videos I posted before on the other chapters. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I've covered chapters 4, 5, and this is chapter 6. And the live will be on my YouTube as a video by itself, so you guys can rewatch it. Okay, chapter 7, we have to do chapter 7. Okay, so I'll do a video about chapter 7, okay, for the periodic, and we'll try, since it's all written, so I'll try to, what's it called, to solve past papers with you guys related to the material. Can you do one on Sunday because my exam's on Monday? What school are you in, if you don't mind me asking? So you have your bio periodic on Monday. Okay, Wi-Fi charger. Okay, no worries. Okay, deal. I'll try to post a video for chapter 7 maximum by Sunday. Okay, so you can watch it. And I've already posted a videos about chapter 4, 5, and this is now chapter 6. And if you don't mind also sharing it with your friends in Sharjah for the ones who do not know about my account. So share them the channel so they can also benefit from it. And I think that's it for today. If there's no more questions, I'm going to end the session. Thank you all for joining in and watching. I hope you all benefited today and I made some stuff clear. Okay. Thank you guys. That's it. Thank you all and best of luck on your exams also. If you ever need anything, let me know. And send guys the link for people who are coming from different schools. Just send them the link so they can join the group and they can ask the questions they have. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'll see you soon and stay safe and good luck. Bye bye.